that wasn't just a light refurb. That was
that was a full refurb.
that was every detail you could think of.
Back, full, yeah.
That's true. Before we get onto your specific property deals, because I'm sure that's what everyone's interested in, tell me about some of the obstacles that you had when you were first starting out. So you've decided, right, okay, I'm going to go into property, I'm going to start it, I've done this research, but now I'm going to do it properly and I'm going to do it full time. What were your biggest obstacles and how did you overcome these, especially when you were just starting out? Was it sort of like agents?
I mean, agents are always there, but they're like paying on all of our asses. We're all used to getting rejected by them. I don't think that was so much of an obstacle. I'm quite lucky in the fact that I can deal with rejection well. From all these years of getting rejected by girls, it's just standard. And also the fact that I'm quite confident that I can just sort of talk to anyone, and just pick up the phone and just give people about, which is actually a gift. I thought it was pretty normal, but when you speak to people, you sort of take it for granted because sort of that social skills is quite important. It's in property. In property, you do have to be sociable. You have to talk to people, and you have to network, and you have to be able to pick up, take that hit from the agents. At the start, it was obviously rejection from the agents, and just no's after no's after no's. I think I had a day where I had about 40 calls, and they were just all no's right at the start, and that was one of those days where you just wanted to give up and just quit. But apart from that, I mean, the actual obstacles weren't really there. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think it must be sort of like, I think you're naturally, if you can pick up the phone, make a cold call, do it with such confidence and sort of be able to make a statement and leave a mark on the agent, which is more than just, so we don't do this or we don't do that, and you're able to handle objections. That is a skill in itself, and I feel like that's actually probably the first and biggest hurdle. Definitely. So I mean, everything after that, you can learn it, but trying to initially sell to an agent, because ultimately you're selling the concept to agents who. Well, it's interesting because I had a conversation with Attila in the podcast before this, and he said every agent by now knows what rent to rent is. By 100%. Now they know, they've had.
And if they don't by now, they're not with it.
Exactly. They must have started like a day ago. Yeah, exactly. So it's nice that you're able to actually distinguish yourself from just another call. And actually be able to sell the concept and ideas.
I feel like back when I sort of got started rent to rent, so about a year and a half ago, it wasn't as big a thing as it now. It was still massive. Like, obviously this crash course was huge, but I feel like at that point still a lot of agents weren't sure what it was, and there was still a lot more people closed-minded to it. So I had to give it the whole spiel, the whole like elaborate script pitch. And everything, the elaborate pitch to try and avoid using the words rent to rent or that corporate let or that sort of stuff. So in the end, I was chatting to a guy I went for a coffee with the other day, and I was saying how in the end because they were so tired of hearing the rent to rent pitch from everyone, I mixed it up. So I started seeing how I could sort of rearrange the words and just bullshit a little bit. So I ended up doing, my pitch was a refurbish and repurpose. So I said, we take on our properties, we give them the full refurbishment, and then we repurpose them for different use, whatever we believe that they're good for. And then we say, nice. So it separates me from the sort of the rest of the people just being like, oh, we're getting a corporate let, we're going to put some professionals in there. I'm saying that we're giving the landlord this fully refurbished properties, adding value to their property, and then we're repurposing it from something that we believe is better for and it'll get a better use out of. So that was the sort of route I went down for a bit. And then after that, it got to the point where I was just kind of like, I was bored of doing that as well. And at this point, every agent knows what rent to rent is. So I just picked up the phone, and a lot of obviously when you're working in the same areas, you get to know your agents, and the agents get to know you. So it got to the point where I could pick up the agent. I would start saying, my go-to script is, let's pick up, hi, it's Felix Jordan speaking. I've just seen a property on Rightmove, that sort of stuff. And then they go, hi, Felix. We know who it is. At that point, it's easy. All I have to do is say, oh, I've seen this property here. I've seen this property here. Is it available?
It's nice that, because I'm assuming as well, you probably met a few of these guys in person to build like a good relationship, because it's hard to, in my opinion, it's hard to build a good, solid relationship on the phone, off the back of a phone call. It's very difficult. Like I said, you can't really read someone's body language.
It's so much. It's different seeing people being able to just look people in the eye and just being able to have a laugh and whatever. It's so much easier.
100%. And also, I think we should probably wait a couple of weeks to put this out, because as soon as you say repurpose, repurpose, it's going to get 1,000 calls. So we'll give you
ahead of the game.
We'll give you 2 weeks in it. No, that's amazing. So obviously, like I said, you kind of you've got this sort of like not cocky. You've got this confidence about you anyway. Like even when we've met in person, I've only we've only met a couple of times, but we've been talking for a while. But I feel like I can get on with you, and it's a good skill to have. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got a lot of confidence in that respect, so I can imagine you transferring that to agents and building a wicked report to them, because you're a wicked guy in general, innit? But in terms of being able to get over that, how did you get your first sort of like couple of deals? What was that like? And were they direct to landlord? Were they through agents? And what sort of deals were they?
Yeah, so my first few deals were all SAs, and they were all direct to agent. All of my personal properties have all come through an agent. And I just find it's easier. I mean, I don't know how you found it, but I think going direct to agent, A, they have access to a lot more properties.
Yeah.
And B, they're easier to get a hold of. It's easy, just like you said, just pick up the phone and call them. Whereas with going direct to landlords, you have to do letter campaigns, or you have to do marketing on Facebook or Gumtree or whatever. And you have to be outwardly going out there every day on different social media platforms and messaging people. Whereas sort of when I'm going down the agent route, I can sort of have my list of estate agencies. This is a thing that I've picked up over the time. I have my blacklisted estate agents that don't do rent to rent. So I know to avoid them at all costs. And then I have my agents that are really good to work with and are open to it. So at the end of the day, nowadays I just pick up the phone one at a time and call those ones only, just because I know they're so much easier to work with. And at that point, it's a lot easier to get hold of these deals. And for me, the first SA I picked up was in Bath. So all my SAs were in Bath. Actually, no, that's a lie. The first one was in Reading. Yeah. So that was about a month into actually just opening my company.
Wow.
That was when I got my first one. I was going to do it as a joint venture. So I had a joint venture partner lined up. I'd been going to networking events, meeting people in person, which I felt is a massive thing. Yeah. Like that's where a lot of my clients, both my bespoke sourcing clients and also my JV partners came from. And he was ready to go. We had the finance ready to go. There was a 1-bed SA in Reading, and then it fell through for some reason. I can't remember when it fell through. It was over a year ago. But that came through an estate agent who was just starting up his estate agency. So it was kind of good timing. He was starting up his estate agency. I was starting up my company. So it was good that we was trying to help each other get deals over the line. Yeah. So I was trying to get that let for him and take him off his hands. And I still work with him today, and it's a really good relationship. But then, so that one fell through, and then just another couple of months after that, must be November. Yeah, actually 1 month. So I started in October, and I secured my one in Bath in November.
I remember that.
And that was my first one. So that was the one we did a full refurb on, which was my first SA, my first project was mad. But I decided, I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. Just lick a paint there, just chucking us over there. Had no idea how much effort it actually is. Yeah. So yeah, I got my whole family involved with that one, did a full refurb when I got some mates round to do the final bits of IKEA furniture together, and it was good fun.
I remember you trying to get it in just ready for is it the Bath Christmas market
or
something?
Yeah.
And you were like, look, I need to get this done ASAP. But then like I said, it wasn't just a case of like, okay, can you just paint that wall? Can you just put a new carpet in there? It was literally from scratch. And it looked gorgeous. Yeah. Remember the photos?
I've got the photos on my Facebook page. Anyone wants to check them out. But yeah, we went for the full Monty, full refurb.
So how did you so obviously you've got your SA now, you're good, you've done the full refurb, which looked gorgeous. Yeah. How did you find the process after that? Did you start looking for other deals straight away, or was it a case of, right, I've got this one, I need to systemize this, get this up running, get it booked, or was it just a case of, right, I've got this one and I'm going to start working on another one at the same time? What was the process like?
No, so I at the time I was just sort of running that one for a while to just see to see what it was like and sort of get my ground. And like I said, I probably could have been a lot more sort of proactive and get things going. Yeah. And at the time I was just sort of like, yeah, I've got this SA, it's sick. I'm just like excited to have it. And it was making me money, and I was like, cool. And at that point I was traveling sort of every 2 weeks to the property, which is now in 20 away. So it was a bit far. And at the time I wasn't really taking into account all my petrol and stuff like that, but looking back on it now, that is a cost of running the business. Yeah. So at that point, I wasn't really getting on systemizing it. Once I actually started to, so I had my cleaners, obviously. So that process it was a learning curve on itself, actually going out and hiring private cleaners. So instead of going through an agency, I wanted to hire mine privately because I wanted to give them a lot more responsibility. So I wanted to make them sort of a property manager and cleaner. So I wanted to make sure that they could handle the responsibility of dealing with the laundry, connecting the laundry to the other cleaners, dealing with the check-ins and checks out, and making sure the keys back in the lockbox, that sort of stuff. So I needed to make sure that they were up to that standard. So in the end, I got a couple of great cleaners. We got that going, got my maintenance team involved, Then in Bath, if anyone's got an essay in Bath, you'll know the laundry is a pain. It's fucking expensive.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, everything in Bath is expensive.
Yeah.
It's mad. So actually to get the laundry there, the pickups and drop-offs, this was on a mate. This first apartment was bang in the centre, so it had no parking around it, which means like drop-offs and pickups is pretty hard.
Yeah.
So I had to get my cleaners to sort of organise that and get their number with the laundry. And getting that systemized and set up itself did take a few months. And actually, once it was going, just as it was going, and it had all been systemized and everything was going well, that's when lockdown hit. And I was like,
you're joking.
Yeah.
You know, just before we get onto that, because everyone's been affected by lockdown, and especially if you've been in the rent-to-rent game or even just in the property game as a whole. You know, these sort of like extra costs, did you account for them before you started, or was it just a case of, damn, I didn't realise I was going to spend this much on petrol. I had to arrange the laundry was going to cost this much, and
that's one thing I was thinking actually earlier before coming here, is saying that you don't realise you can go on as many training courses as you like, spend hundreds of £1,000s on training, read as many books, but it's not until you actually just jump in and go for it 100%. That you learn so much more. That once I actually picked up this unit, I learned so much about refurbs that I had no idea before, about cost of refurb, timescale, so much about hiring people and the interview process, about systemizing stuff with laundry, and like you said, the extra costs you just don't think about until you actually do it. And I've done all my calculations down to the penny, and I had like my ROI and the exact amount it was going to cost, my refurb and everything. And then obviously it didn't stick to anything. But yeah, it is, like you said, it's until you actually get going and then you realise all these little costs. Yeah. I think it's the same with every business, the same with everything. Until you take that leap, jump in.
I think a bit of that comes into the area that you're investing as well. Now, you probably know Bath inside out now when it comes to, you can probably spot a property with a good rent. You know how much your cleaners are going to cost. You know how often they can get them in, and you can account for it a little bit better. But as you mentioned, this is not something that's sort of like taught. I think it's with anything. It's kind of like, I was having this conversation with Christian where it's like, it's kind of like learning to drive, and it like you can learn the basics of learning to drive, but when it comes to every scenario, you can't account for it. But when it comes to cost, that's always the thing that stings you the most, isn't it? Because it's like everything can get quite.